Rachel Reeves is paranoid about doing a Liz Truss. After Liz Truss's unnecessary mini-budget 2 years ago, the markets went into meltdown, skyrocketing interest rates, confidence hit rock bottom and Rishi Sunak was shoehorned in to fix the mess. Some argue that Liz had the right idea, but the execution was wrong. Her budget affected the housing market and the Labour Party have literally gone to town on Liz ever since.
Control. Liz Truss crashed the economy. They made it worse here than in other countries.
Liz Truss has even crashed the pork market. Now that is a disgrace.
2 years ago today, in their clamour to cut taxes for the richest, they crashed the economy, sent mortgages spiralling and put pensions in peril.
Really? But are Labour about to do the same thing, but in slow motion, and before the budget has even been announced? According to reports, thousands of businesses are closing ahead of this week's budget, which many are worried could amount to one of the biggest corporate tax raises of this era. Rachel Reeves, who once had her parliamentary credit card suspended for racking up over £4,000 worth of unauthorised transactions, claimed her budget will grow the economy and attract investment into Britain. But the figures are showing the very opposite appears to be happening. The surge in the number of business owners closing down is over concern that a raid on capital gains tax to raise £40 billion is planned. And more than 1,600 companies have shut shop in anticipation. Tory leadership candidate Robert Jenrick said last night, Sir Keir has lied not once, but twice, by claiming not to have breached his manifesto promises on tax and by insisting that his budget will not be an assault on the heartlands of Middle Britain. Well, we await the finer details with bated breath, but if the current reaction before the budget has been announced is anything to go by, Rachel's fiscal event will be just like Liz's, a car crash, but in slow motion. Right, but let's get the thoughts of a former Labour MP, Stephen Pound, on my monologue. Stephen Pound, welcome. Stephen, who reminds me of Crichton for some odd reason. But, Stephen, what do you think? We've already got some leaks of some of the things coming out in the budget, and the response to those few leaks that we pretty much probably definitely happening is not good. So do you think...
Well, hang on a second.
Yeah.
We haven't got a clue. I mean, you're a pretty good investigative journalist as well as a presenter. You know that you've got to double source your facts. All we got is flim flam and piles of speculation at the moment. It's the biggest game in town at the moment. It's guessing what's going to happen on Thursday. Well, we haven't got long to wait. Look, the main thing is that getting run through this like, the name through a stick of Blackpool rock is that this is going to be a budget to invest for the future. Look at what the problem we got in this country. Our productivity is diabolical. Our sickness rates are appalling. We're underfunding the defence of the nation. We're underfunding the NHS. We're not providing enough money for the police. Everywhere you look, things are going wrong. How do we get the money to fix it? How do we get the money to actually get some value from that? Now, what Liz Truss did, of blessed memory, she decided to cut tax for the wealthy. And that was it. She assumed that somehow there'd be this great entrepreneurial surge and that people would start working extra. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. What we really need to do is to get growth, productivity up, and actually get people off the sick, into work, get our defence forces properly funded, the police funded, and the NHS funded. That needs money. If we're not going to get it from tax, where are we going to get it from? OK, so first of all, police, defence, NHS. Well, I don't think the defence is underfunded. I think it's just been badly spent. And the NHS, again, another big black hole that's spending money incredibly badly, Stephen. You know that. And, yeah, the police could do with more money. I would agree with that. But growth, productivity, you're announcing things or things are leaking through and businesses are running for the hills. I mean, this is what we are seeing. Even if maybe they do want growth, which... maybe they do, but taxing national insurance, increasing employers' national insurance by 2% is not going to encourage growth, is it? Well, hang on a second. You say employers are running for the hills. Let's actually put this into some perspective. Every day of the week, businesses close down. Every day of the week, businesses open up. Mm-hmm. If somebody's running a business, they're providing a service. People want to buy that product. If somebody closes down, somebody else will actually provide that service and provide that product. Unless you're saying that some of these companies that are closing down are simply providing something that nobody actually really wanted. I'm sorry, there's always a shift. There's always a churn when it comes to businesses. So this is nothing new about that. But as for the employers' national insurance. This is, a tiny thing. It's 0.3% of the total expenditure on that. I think in reality, if we're going to do something about getting this country back to work, getting our health service and our NHS and our defence back on a level footing, I just repeat my question, Nana. Where, if not from here, where will the money come from?
All right, well, I'll tell you, the first thing I would do is cut the civil service. I would reduce that ridiculously over-bloated bureaucratic organisation to much lower levels, and I'm sure I could get billions that way. That would be the first starting point. I would scrap this nonsense of carbon capture, which is just absurd, storing vast amounts of high-pressure carbon under the seabed next to oil and gas wells. Madness. We'll probably blow up the planet ourselves. I mean, look, there are some very stupid schemes that I think they're setting up. 22 billion, which is equal to the price of the black hole that they're talking about, and we're still offsetting our carbon. I would keep those. I would keep our oil and gas running. Our own, in particular, I'd keep at least one or two. I would have most of our coal mines still running. I would not be importing things from China, steel from China. It just doesn't make any sense.
So what a loss you were to frontline politics. I'm sorry, but look. In reality, civil servants, who are they? They're the police.
Exactly.
They're the Navy. The civil servants.
I'm talking about HMRC. I'm talking about I'm talking about...
HMRC is actually cost-effective. I mean, look, I agree with you. It is. I mean, if every single person working in HMRC actually sees some money come into the state, believe you me, I get my tax demands as much as anybody. Yeah.
But they are bloated, and we know they are. So you asked me a question.
How do we know? No, how do we know?
We do know. In fact, for politics...
Where's the data? Where's the empirical evidence?
Even West Streeting would say that. They're all saying it. We know that the numbers are double, literally, from COVID. Before COVID...
Sorry, who's saying it?
We need to reduce the numbers.
The evidence? Where's the evidence?
The evidence is there. The evidence is there, Stephen. You know that. We know it's overbloated.
I don't know
there
that.
are too many. Yes, there are.
I don't.
They're all saying it. So, but you asked me what I would do. That's what I would do. You would pump more money into all these different things, and I'm not hearing where the growth will come from. Where will you get the money from to pump into these things?
Well, we've just gone through that. I mean, potentially, hypothetically, we're going to get the money from employers' national insurance contribution, maybe some other areas. I don't know. But all I'm saying at the present time is the money has to come from somewhere. Governments don't have, politicians don't have money. The people have money. The money doesn't belong to a politician. It actually belongs to the people who produce the wealth that actually make this country run. At the moment, this country is not running.
They're scaring them off, aren't they? A lot of them are leaving. Delvin said it's fine, but a lot of them aren't.
There's no evidence. There's no evidence.
There is evidence. We've been reading reports of lots of them leaving this country. There was a report only a couple of weeks ago to say that many of the millionaires are leaving. If you don't accept the evidence that is there, then there really is.
Name one millionaire who's leaving the country apart from Charlie Mullins. Name one.
Well, listen. Funnily enough, I don't know lots of millionaires. I don't know them personally.
Me neither, which is why I want to...
circle. But just because I don't know them doesn't mean it's not happening. That's not really an argument, is it?
Where's the evidence?
I've just told you. I've given you evidence. You're not happy with it. Listen, Stephen Powell, we're going to go in circles, so I'm going to leave it there. I've presented you. I've given you evidence. But you won't accept it. You just feel that you just want something else. And otherwise,
for the first time, you bottled it.
For the first time, what, sorry?
You bottled it. For the first time I've ever seen you do that.
Bottled what? You haven't... There is evidence. I've pointed to the evidence to you. You've not accepted it, so...
No.
Anyway, I've got to go, Stephen. I've got Elliot Keck. Maybe he can clear your mind.
I still respect you.
Yes, Stephen. Thank you very much. Goodbye. That's Stephen Found. Elliot Keck, he joins me. He claims I bottled it simply because I did not give him the specific report that shows that people are leaving this country in their droves, which we already know. So if you wouldn't mind pointing to that.
Yeah, so the Adam Smith Institute just recently found that there's a real exodus of millionaires. It's one of the highest in the whole world in terms of per capita, so the number of people relative to the size of the country. And just to pick you up on the point about the civil service, you're absolutely right. We added 23,000 civil servants in the last year alone, and we're mostly adding policy and communications people. It's one of the largest increases we've had in a long time. So you're absolutely spot on to point out the civil service, I have to say.
Thank you, that's what I thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've been reading the reports that say there are way too many. There's diversity and inclusion, there's all that nonsense.
It's extraordinary.
Net zero, it's an absolute waste of money, it's disgraceful. But so what do you think, Rachel Reeves? Her budget is coming out on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Are people leaving? Are businesses closing? Is this normal? Or is this an unusual thing?
They are. It's not normal, or it shouldn't be normal. And I think that this budget is going to be more terrifying than any Halloween film that any of your viewers are going to be watching over the next few days. I think we can expect on Wednesday to have a whole range of tax hikes. They could include making the price of a pint or a bottle of wine more expensive, price of filling up your tank of petrol more expensive, the price of hiring a member of staff or promoting a member of staff more expensive, the price of selling property or selling shares or investments more expensive, the price of putting money into your pension or taking money out of your pension more expensive. And at the same time, Rachel Reeves will have the conceit and the shamelessness to stand up and say at the dispatch box, we're not raising taxes on working people, and I think that is truly appalling.
See, that's why it's so exhausting, because I'm speaking to Stephen. The evidence is there. I've pointed out that there are already reports that suggest that. He wants a specific report. Now you've pointed out the report. These people are exhausting because it is happening. We know it's happening, and they are in denial.
Yeah, and they tell you
why
not to believe your own
denial?
eyes. Well, I suppose they're desperately trying to put lipstick on a pig to try and spin this as something not as bad as it is. But listen, we've been told that £40 billion is going to be taken from the British people in the form of tax rises. That's about £1,500 per household. That's going to be absolutely catastrophic. It's going to be austerity for all of us, while at the same time for the for the public sector, it's going to be caviar and champagne.
It's exhausting. Honestly, I feel exhausted after that because I was going in a circle, and I'm like, and then in the end, the insult is, "Oh, yeah, I've never seen you bottle it," and I'm like, "This is not bottling it. I'm actually bored of going around in a circle to explain to you that what we can all see, people denying what your eyes are seeing, that." The NHS is overbloated, they're spending too much money. You don't put more money in it, you need to reorganise it
absolutely.
to get better value out of it.
And that's what Wes Streeting said before the election, and now, when it actually comes to it, and they're just going to add... just pump a load more money into it and hope that eventually it's going to work.
So what should she be doing? What should, in your view, Rachel Reeves be doing?
Well, listen, the biggest problem we have in this country is that the public sector is incredibly unproductive. So over the last 25 years, we've seen a fairly healthy increase in private sector productivity. So the private sector is growing more productive and is growing more efficient. Public sector productivity hasn't increased for 25 years. We've added, I think it's 318 public sector workers a day over the last year, about 120,000 public sector workers in total, despite the fact productivity has gone down by 7.5%. If we just had a public sector that was as productive as it was before COVID, a lot of our issues would be solved.
Well, that's what I said.
So before
to what they were before COVID.
Before she's putting any more money into, whether it's the railway industry, the NHS, whatever industry it is in the public sector, she should be, requiring that, they work longer hours, they take less sick leave, they reduce their annual leave, they actually get back to the standards that we saw just a few years ago. Ideally, you'd like much better standards than that, but, let's walk before we can run. But unfortunately, that's not what they're doing. They're just going to hand a load more money over, hope that eventually things will get better. And for all of us, we're just going to get poorer.
So, because I would like them to be more accountable as to how they're spending our money.
Absolutely.
If they want to do that, then I want to see what I'm getting for it, because they're wanting more money for public services. There's a lot of money in public services already, and they're not running very well.
Yeah, and they say they're going to be responsible with the finances, but they are saying yes to every single spending project out there, every fashionable scheme, every pet project, every ask by, whatever minister it is. And the only thing that they've managed to find that they can cut spending on is the winter fuel allowance. And I think, if you're a pensioner and you're seeing them hand billions to every single demand and every single ask, but they're not able to find £1.5 billion to fund the winter fuel allowance, that's where you really look at it and you can just recognise there are some really, really disturbing and distorted political priorities here.
And what about national insurance? Because they were talking about raising it by 2%, but then there was the question that it might just be for private companies and not for the public sector. Which is,
it's extraordinary.
Again,
it's extraordinary.
Absolutely absurd.
Yeah, one rule for us and one rule for them. I mean, it really is extraordinary.
And a lot of people in the public sector have really nice pensions.
Yeah. Incredible pensions that you just do not get access to in the private sector, not even comparable. The average public sector pension is about 75% of final salary. Private sector is more like 25%.
Wow.
It's really...
Do you think
really
there's a risk of a Liz Truss effect from this budget?
Well, listen, we've seen gilt yields, so the interest paid on government bonds, government debt, higher than it was ever under Liz Truss. So clearly the markets are looking at this Labour government and thinking we're not really convinced.
Wow, Elliot Cake, thank you very much. I've restored my faith in my own knowledge there. He literally convinced me that actually I was totally wrong. Thank you, Elliot. Really good to speak to you.